All right, there you go. Hello, welcome everybody. In the legislature this year, we've been talking a lot about elections, and of course, a lot of people are running for office, so there's a guilty pleasure in some of that, of course. So, but some of it's concerning, some of it's not. But we thought we would gather several clerks from Southwest Colorado here today to say kind of what's going on in our neck of the woods and the security precautions that are being taken. So today we have Tiffany Lee from Plata County. We have Michelle Nauer from Ouray, and Christy, I didn't get your last name, but there she is. She's running for the office. Kim Percell is from Montezuma. Cameron Hill is from Colorado Common Cause. And we're going to go around and have everybody kind of tell us what they do, how long they've been doing the job, questions that are coming up before them, and what kind of safety precautions are going on in each of these very different kinds of districts. So I'd like to welcome all the panelists today and welcome our guests. So I think Tiffany, you were going to go first.
Sure, thank you, Representative McLachlan. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you tonight listening to us. This is so important, and just the opportunity. So I'm Tiffany Lee. I'm your La Plata County Clerk and Recorder. I've been the county clerk since 2010. However, I started in 1996. So 26 years of doing this type of work. And the county clerk's office is so important. All the different roles and functions that we have, people focus on elections, which is super important. But we also do oversee motor vehicle, recording of real property records, clerk to the board. I know some clerks, not myself, but some do vital records, marijuana licensing, business licensing, passports, all kinds of things. So we're very, very busy. But tonight we're here to talk to you about elections and how important it is, especially right now. There's a lot of information out there that unfortunately it's concerning to us. And as county clerks, we are listening and hearing and want to assure to you how hard we are working to make sure that your elections are secure and the amount of integrity that we have. So security, I'm going to highlight that, and then my fellow colleagues will highlight some other specific topics, but security. So what do we do to ensure that your elections are safe here in Colorado? So we have, obviously, laws that we follow. Our legislator here, Representative McLachlan, can attest to that. We all have certain things that we're required to do, such as video cameras on drop boxes, video cameras in specific areas, such as our ballot programming. It depends on the size of the county, what our requirements are. So each of us tonight can speak a little bit about our specific requirements because, La Plata County, I'm considered a medium-sized county, and we have counties that maybe are a smaller size county. You got to remember that our Michelle's got a beautiful facility in a small old courthouse. I have a brand new building. So I've been fortunate enough to really enhance my security, whether that's cameras system, which we have, and we also have a lot of keypad access to specific areas. We have tracking devices on those keypads to tell us who's going in to those facilities, what time, who they are. We're actually working on a new camera system, even though I'm in a brand new building. We're going to enhance it even for face recognition, all types of things that we're doing. Also, one of the biggest pieces I feel we do background checks on election judges that are working in specific areas of our department. We also do everything in bipartisan teams of election judges. This is the people's elections. Yes, we are the leaders of your particular counties. We're the ones directing you, but the election judges are the ones doing that work. So we have bipartisan teams, we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have independents, and other parties working together to actually do the work. And that's what's so important about the party involvement. So that to me is a huge part of security because everybody is working together, but they're also watching everything we do. We're not doing anything independently by ourselves, whether it's ballot programming to when the ballots come back to us, receiving them, signature verification, to opening them, to tabulating them. The same thing in the voter service and polling centers. We have bipartisan teams working together to ensure that everybody is doing what should be done and doing it together. And I tell you, it's awesome to see it. We have amazing election judges that they don't care about partisanship. They care about doing the work and doing good work. They're not allowed to discuss any kind of political position. Any of that is not allowed in our facilities. It's about doing the work and doing it correctly. Our voting systems, that's a really hot topic. So in Colorado, majority of us have the Dominion voting system. And I've worked, like I said, I've done this 26 years. This is my third type of equipment I've worked on, and I'm very confident in the Dominion voting system. It is not wireless. It is hardwired into independent servers. It's not even connected to our county servers. Everything is all hardwired. And we do tests on it to ensure that there's no wireless capability. The wireless is deactivated, and that's part of some of the controversial here. And I welcome those types of questions, and that's why we're here tonight, is we want to provide you the facts and assure you what we're doing is really great work. We also, I know this was one of the questions that were presented to us on, do you give tours? Do you show what you're doing? And I'm going to speak specifically for me, and I'm going to let my colleagues speak about their particular counties, but I love giving tours. I think it's really important that people get to see the process. So they get to come into our office, understand from the very beginning of when that mail ballot goes out to when it's tabulated, or when you vote in person, what happens. So I encourage people to reach out to us. It's not something you can just show up at our office for, because we don't work the entire time, right? It depends on the volume of the work that's coming in. I like to have it where election judges are in the office working, so you get to see everything live happening. So give us a call, or give me a call in my particular county, and we'll schedule that tour, because I think it's really important for people to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and let my colleagues add in their information, but we are here again tonight to speak respectfully to each other, get those questions answered. And if you don't get your question answered tonight, please know you can reach out to any of us in the future and or come see us, because we want you to know what great work we're doing in Colorado and how well our elections are ran. So thank you so much, Representative McLachlan, for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tiffany. And if anybody out there has a question, please put it in the Q&A, and we will get to them as soon as everybody's had an opportunity to talk tonight. So we look forward to it. So thank you. Kim from Montezuma County.
Sorry, I was still on mute.
It happens. That's what Zoom is.
Kim Percell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. I have been in the clerk's office for 17 years. I started in the motor vehicle department, and then I transferred to elections. I started with elections, attending a judge's training, and I got very interested in it, and I transferred into that department as soon as I could. I was placed as the chief deputy a few years later and became clerk in 2014. I am serving my second term now and running for my third term, which would be my final term. We currently in Montezuma County have 19,012 active registered voters. And the one thing that I realized very quickly when you're dealing with elections is you want to be as transparent and available to anybody that wants to talk to you. So I too have an open door policy. Anytime anybody wants to come in and talk to me about elections, I'm available. They can call me. I've had people text me on Facebook and message me on Facebook, and I've tried to offer any information that I can about elections. Currently in Montezuma County, we have 6 24-hour drop boxes, and all 6 of those drop boxes do have the required video surveillance. That's one of the questions that I've been asked a lot of. Our election room, we have a very small election room, and we have a very small area to do elections, but we do have surveillance cameras both in the election room. And this year we added 3 new cameras to make sure that we had a complete area around to make sure that we have everybody. Let's see. Within Montezuma County, the thing that I like the most about our security is that I trust our pre-election testing with the logic and accuracy testing. And the risk and limiting audit testing that we have performed after the elections. Those are my trusts. That's where I believe that our elections, because they're the ones that tell the tale. One of the other questions that we've had a lot about is the mail ballots. I think the question that was presented to us was, how do we know our mail ballots are safe? We have had signature verification, and that is your security, that your ballot is actually your ballot and you voted your ballot. But that's just my opinion. I believe that anytime you look at a ballot and you see that it's your signature or that person's signature, then you're telling us that this is the actual ballot that you voted. I don't know what else you guys want to ask me. I'll pass it on to Michelle.
Hi, Michelle, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Representative McLachlan. I appreciate your inviting us here. I'm Michelle Nauer, and I'm the clerk, and this is Christy Saluski. She's my chief deputy, and she is running for clerk and recorder, as I am going to be stepping down out of this position after 28 years. I was very young when I started working in the clerk's office. I've actually been in the clerk family for 40 years, more than 40 years, and started off doing a little bit of everything from motor vehicle to elections to recording and liquor licenses and just everything. Like Tiffany, I have been through 3 different counting systems, including starting when I first started back in 1995, we were hand counting ballots. And then we went to the automated counting system through the years. And I currently have Dominion also, and have complete faith in the Dominion system. I've seen quite a bit of a change through the years, from hand typing voter lists back in the day and hand counting ballots to everything being automated, the voter registration through the SCORE program, and of course the counting on the Dominion equipment. I wanted to give you guys all a little bit of an idea of the county is split up with our parties. We have approximately 50% of our voters in Ouray County are actually nonpartisan. They're considered unaffiliated. And the other breakout is almost even. The other 50% is broken out a quarter and a quarter of Republicans and Democrats. So it's a different dynamic. When I first came here, it was almost all Republican. So interesting how that works. We also have one VSPC where we process the ballots, and people can come vote. And we have 3 drop boxes, one in Ouray, one in Ridgeway, and one in the Kelowna area. I too, everything is done by bipartisan teams. So I have super election judges, some that have been with me for many years, always try and bring in a few new ones as they cycle through, but we work with bipartisan teams all the time. And I also make certain that when we are in the elections mode and we are working, that there is always 2 people at all times from my staff in there also. And we also have cameras throughout our voter service polling center, work area, and Dominion room. So we are an older building, historical building, so we still have the key. We don't have the nice swipers and punch key to get in, but everything is under camera. We go in, we key in, and we also sign a log showing who is in there working at all times. So it's monitored and with dual representation of parties and everything. So I thought maybe I would also talk a little bit about the party process and accessing the ballot. The caucus, assembly, and primary procedure is strictly a party road to getting somebody on the ballot. So you start the caucus usually in February, where there's neighborhood caucuses, where your neighbors, your friends, your family, your neighbors all get together, start talking about who wants to run for office. And from the caucus, they select folks to go to the assembly, to become delegates at the assembly, to state what the people that they want to run for office. And then at the assembly is where the actual nomination of the candidate, whether mostly for the local positions at the county level, those are where the candidates for the county positions get nominated and placed their names on the ballot. So there's also another way for a party candidate to get on the ballot, and that is through the petition process. And that is almost completely separate from the assembly process. And so instead of going through that, they have petitions where they have to get, I think it's 20% of the signatures from the prior election on that petition, and they can access the primary ballot that way. So there's two ways a person who's affiliated with the Republican or Democratic Party can get on the ballot. And then the primary is when you vote who is going to be the Republican candidate and who is going to be the Democratic candidate to go on to the general ballot. So, but in Ouray County, as I mentioned, we have a lot of unaffiliated voters. So the process for an unaffiliated voter, they don't have anything to do with the primary. Their process is a petition. Again, they petition to get on to the November ballot. And so on the November ballot is when you get your Republican, your Democratic, who based on the winners of the primary, and then any other unaffiliated candidates also can appear on that ballot. So there's really two different roads to getting onto the ballot, and it all depends on what party affiliation you are. So it is an interesting process. And again, because Ouray County has so many unaffiliated candidates, we didn't have a whole lot of activity at the Republican or Democratic level. We're going to have a lot more activity with petitioning on to get the ballot onto the ballot. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit about what's going on in Ouray right now. Did you have anything further to add?
Not necessarily to add to what you have said, but just to reiterate the fact that, the unaffiliated voters have come a long way in Colorado, and being able to participate in a primary when they, we get constituents who come in and say, oh, I'm part of the unaffiliated party. Well, it's not a party, it's the unparty. So it's nice to see, especially in our county, all but one candidate that's coming up for office is unaffiliated. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic out here in the mountains.
Yeah. So anyway,
I had no idea it was there were that many independents in Ouray now. So
yes, it's really changed over the years.
yeah,
Really changed.
okay. Great. Well, thank you both very much for joining us today. Cameron, you're next.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Representative McLachlan, and I'm really excited to be here with all these amazing clerks. My name is Cameron Hill, and I am with Colorado Common Cause, and we are the state of Colorado's chapter of a national organization called Common Cause. We've been around for 50 years now. Colorado Common Cause has been here since 1972, and we are a nonpartisan nonprofit organization, and we work for open, honest, and accountable government, and we seek to strengthen public participation in civic life. And so, we're big fans of voting. We're big fans of, policies that strengthen our voting and election system. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of the ways that we support our election systems. One of the first ways that we do that is by supporting policies that are going to strengthen our voting and election systems, make them more secure, and also make ballot access more equitable so that everyone is able to access the ballot. And so one thing I'll say is that, Colorado Common Cause works with lawmakers like Representative McLachlan and also county clerks and the Secretary of State's office to promote these policies. About 11 years ago, we worked with Clerk Lee in Plata County, and our organization, I wasn't there then, but our organization worked with a large coalition to help pass 1303, which led us to the universal mail-in ballots that we have now. And we think that that was a huge and important reform in the state because it provided everybody with access to the ballot and gave them the convenient access to vote at home and then drop their ballots off when it was convenient for them. As you know, voting in Colorado, you often have to read a lot, and so it's a lot easier to do that from your own home. So that's one of the reforms that we've helped promote. And so we just think that everyone should have access to the ballot, and mail-in voting is one of the best ways to do that. But we also support policies that ensure that our elections are secure. As you've heard from these amazing clerks, there are so many different policies and procedures in place to make sure that each of our ballots are collected and processed very securely, and Common Cause supports and works with officials to promote these policies and make sure that we are improving them as they need to be improved. So those are a couple ways that we work on the policy side. And the other, another really important way that we do this work is we run the state's largest nonpartisan election protection program, and that is called Just Vote Colorado. And so we partner nationally with the Lawyers Committee and the Election Protection Coalition, as well as the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials. Those are our national partners. And then at the state level, we partner with the Colorado Lawyers Committee, Disability Law Colorado, the League of Women Voters of Colorado, and Mi Familia Vota. And the goals of that program are to provide voters with critical information, and this is all over the state. We help voters with questions, and we work to resolve most of reported voter issues. We also collect information to inform future work. And then we also do outreach and work with county clerks and the Department of State and election administrators to ensure that that we are partners in this and that we are communicating with each other. And so the way that we do this work is we have a multi-pronged approach. We have a website that's called justvotecolorado.org, and we make that a one-stop shop in Colorado-specific voter education and information. We provide information in both English and Spanish. We also provide a map where you can find drop boxes and voter service and polling centers all over the state. So that's a major source of information that we want folks to use to, answer any questions that they might have. And then the next thing we do is we have a hotline. So we have a hotline in both English and Spanish, and we staff that throughout the month. We will staff that this year throughout the month of June, and then throughout the month around the November election. And we'll staff that with legal volunteers, mostly lawyers, but also legally trained folks who are experts in election law. And that hotline is for voters to call if they're having issues with voting, but also if they just have questions for voting. So maybe they might have a question about when or how they can register, what they need to register, or maybe they might have a question of, oh, I haven't gotten my ballot yet. And we will help problem solve and troubleshoot with them. We also will sometimes get issues reported to that hotline. And that's why we work with our county clerks, so that when we do have issues reported in certain counties, we call to the county clerks or election administrators and just let them know that there might be an issue happening. But our hotline is a great place to answer questions and make sure that voters have everything they need there. And we also have a social media presence. We try to put out accurate information, promote the things that the county clerks are doing. The best source of information we think about the elections is going to be coming from your county clerks and their offices. So we try to make sure that we can amplify that accurate information. you know, post any reminders and in case there's changes, like with COVID, we did a lot of promoting, or, you know, not promoting, but alerting folks of changes and things like that. And then another thing we'll be doing is combating mis and disinformation. So we monitor social media at the national level and flag mis and disinformation, and try to identify accurate sources and even put out information that will try to inoculate or pre-bunk information that is inaccurate. So that's one way we do it. And then another part of our program will be our field program. So we have our, you know, because Colorado has a voter-centric model, our field program starts well in advance and by meeting with county clerks and election administrators and just discussing election plans and making sure that, you know, if there's anything that we should keep our eye on, that the clerks let us know. That way we can alert our volunteers and things like that. We will also recruit some field volunteers to do things like test out early voting. So they will go and early vote themselves and make sure that they're, you know, the VSPCs and everything are set up. Check for ADA requirements and things like that. We will also train folks to be certified. Well, we will recruit folks to go through the certified poll watching program that the county clerks put on, so that they can go in with other poll watchers that are coming from the different parties and watch, you know, ballot processing and as well as check signage and things like that at VSPCs. And then finally, we provide a lot of materials and trainings to our partners. So there's a lot of groups out there that do get out the vote or voter registration. And we want to make sure that those groups on both sides have the accurate information about how to vote, and what, you know, important deadlines and all those things. So we'll provide materials that they can give to their volunteers, and we will even provide training to their volunteers. So that was a lot of things that we do with our voter election protection program. But really the gist of it is that we're there to support voters. And we also we want to be sure that we're partners with county clerks because our goals are all the same, to make sure that our voters have the resources and knowledge that they need to cast their ballots conveniently and you know, within the right deadline. So that's what Common Cause does. Happy to answer questions, and I appreciate you hosting this, Representative McLachlan. You're on mute. Sorry.
Zoom, here we go. Sorry. Yeah, I hope a lot of people go and look you up and see what you can do. It is a Colorado Common Cause. So if you need to go back. Tiffany, I think that you wanted to go next. You had a couple things to say to fill in some gaps.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm trying to monitor all the questions coming in. There's a lot, and it's coming in two different ways for us. So let me address some of these items, and then my colleagues can jump in as well. But so let me just remind everybody, we are a paper ballot state. So every vote cast has a paper record, and that's actually what we tabulate, and that's what we audit. So there is an electronic voting method in the state of Colorado. We don't allow that. There is a ballot marking device, and that is to comply with HAVA, Help America Vote Act, that was implemented in 2002. And that was to allow anybody that has a disability to vote independently by themselves. Since then, that equipment has been enhanced. People, that's why it's there, but people love it. They still want to go to that electronic voting device. So it's a ballot marking device. It does not store votes. It strictly prints out the paper ballot, and that's what you deposit into the drop box. And again, so that's a misconception. There is no 100% electronic voting in Colorado. We still have paper. So a question also has been asked about in-person voting versus mail ballot. Why? Why are we not going back? So since 1992, Colorado has been doing mail ballots, and that was up to the particular counties. So in Plata County, my predecessor implemented mail ballots. That was in the odd year elections. So your school district elections, your local elections, she had done mail ballots, and many county clerks did that as well. And then as we progressed through time, in 2010, legislation passed that we could allow primary ballots to be done by mail. And again, you went to your county commissioners. It was a decision with your commissioners and your county clerk, and you could implement mail ballot. Then, like Cameron mentioned, in 2013, we reformed elections in Colorado. And why? Why did we do that? As county clerks, we listened to our constituents across the state of Colorado. And my background is in Oregon. So I came from, worked up in Oregon for 10 years. Oregon went all to an all mail ballot system in 1998. So this is nothing new. They were 100% mail ballot. In Colorado, when we worked with different activist groups and political parties and county clerks and legislators, we all came to the table with different political parties, and we listened to what the voters were wanting. At that time, we are at about a 70% rate of absentee voters, so a permanent absentee voters. Because after 2008, people could request to be a permanent absentee voter. So there was a lot of confusion because there was elections we were doing in the off year that were 100% mail ballot. People forget about municipal elections, special districts, our off year, coordinated elections, and then we now are doing primary elections where it's all by mail. So the general election would come along and people would be going, where's my mail ballot? And they'd get very, very angry saying, I don't understand this. And they would have to go to a polling place. So we're basically conducting two different types of elections, very costly, very confusing. And some counties had implemented voter service in polling centers as well. So instead of just a traditional polling place, they had another option. So there was a significant amount of voter confusion. And people in Colorado move around a lot, right? We have a lot of college communities, that type of thing. So we went and worked again through legislation and passed this particular legislation to say, we're going to offer you a mail ballot. You don't have to use it. That's your choice. Use it as a sample ballot if you want. But we also wanted to give them opportunity to come in person. We're the only state that's doing that. So it's a hybrid model, but they have that choice. And I love that. I think that's what voters deserve. So if you don't want to use your mail ballot, throw it away, use it as a sample ballot, whatever you want to do, come in and vote in person. A lot of questions on video surveillance at the drop boxes. So I appreciate those. And I wish, my goodness sakes, let's talk about funding. No, so the answer is no, we do not monitor ballot boxes 24 hours a day. We don't have security. We don't have the funding for that. That's not happening. They're treated just like a USPS postal box. However, those don't have cameras on them. So people forget they're going to put their mail into a USPS drop box and could care less. A ballot is different. We have cameras on them. So if there's an incident or any tampering, we can review that. I do spot checks. I actually can see video footage on my phone. I'm one of the fortunate counties that can do that. So we can monitor them and see what's going on, but no, we don't. The question regarding ballot tracks. So ballot tracks, I actually initiated, you could do that if you wanted to, work with the vendor and do what's called ballot tracks. So what that is a mechanism to, when I implemented it, it was the voter could sign up. So they would provide either their phone number or an email, and they could sign up to say, hey, where's my ballot? Is it, and we would notify them when it's coming out from the postal stream, and then when we received it, and then when it's through signature verification, and then cast, okay? And so now the Secretary of State went ahead and purchased it for all 64 counties. And so if your phone number or your email is on record, then you're automatically going to get notified. And this has nothing to do with if you vote in person. This is strictly about your mail ballot. It also, we can do other messaging. If something comes up, we would have that capability to do that. You don't have to be part of it. If you choose not to be part of it, you can withdraw yourself from it. So I think it's a really great thing. People love it. They understand then where their ballot is, like the ballot's going out on June 6th, you're going to get that notification. I see some chats that are, we're used to this. People are not happy with a lot of things. They think we're doing bad work. I am really proud. And I also see all the cool messages of people saying county clerks are doing a great job. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. These are some of the hardest working people I know. So as far as the, I'm seeing a notice I sent out. So I send that out every primary. It's nothing new. And what we like to do as clerks is educate our voters. We like to make sure they know deadlines, they know the everything they can to ensure that they can vote. So I sent a notice out this week. I think it's awesome. And it's nothing to do with anything different than we ever have. We're administrators of the law, and we need to make sure people understand that. So party changes have always occurred. For my entire 26 years of my career, there's been deadlines, and voters need to have that right to know what those deadlines are. And so we try to inform them. So that's specifically what that mailer is about. It has nothing to do with partisanship. It has to do with educating our voters. Let's see, what else am I seeing in here? I know there's a whole lot of different types of videos. I have not been able to watch the 2000 Mules that I think that people are referring to in the Q&A. I've watched a portion of it, and I want to really dive into it and understand it. I'm hearing conflicting information on it about what the video surveillance of what they took, that type of thing. But again, we're doing everything we can to ensure that we are protecting your vote and your right. And I think it is important, and I appreciate people bringing things to us and telling us these concerns that they have. And this is exactly when Barbara reached out to me and said, hey, Tiffany, what do you think? Should we do this? Yes, my answer is yes, because I want people to trust us and want to build that relationship. I also want to see the hard facts and the data to support it. And that's important as well. And if there are issues, we're going to fix them, and we want to fix them. And that's why when we have legislators that we can, join in together and work, and have Secretary of States that we work together, we all don't agree all the time. I guarantee Representative McLachlan and I have had issues that we don't agree on, and that's okay, but we're respectful about it and we work through it. And that's why I think it's so important that we have events like this and we all work together and get solutions and make it right. If there's an issue with the equipment or with drop boxes or what have you, let's work together and figure that out. Mail ballot's not going to go away. 98% of our voters here in La Plata County choose the mail ballot method to vote. That is what they want. So there is another percentage that don't, and I respect that. But let's figure out the best way we can. And it's not garbage. This is really good work, and it's democracy. And I'm going to be quiet so my colleagues can join in. But I think it's really important that we get these questions addressed. And I see it's just ticking up a whole bunch. So I'm going to try to catch back up here. But thank you again, and I'll let Kim and Michelle join in.
Tiffany, I noticed in one of the questions that it talked about the population in a county and how high the voting turnout was. And I want to just sort of address the mountain communities. We have a lot of snowbirds. So folks that live probably from April, May to November, December in their counties here, and then they fly south to other states during the wintertime. So I know that Ouray County looked like it had a huge turnout, and we did have a huge turnout. But on the flip side, when we had the census back on April 1st of a couple of years ago, most of my snowbirds are actually counted in other states. And it's really, really unfortunate because their primary residence is right here in Ouray County, here in the mountains, and Colorado is their home, and they are just relocated in a different state. So they've gotten counted for, as far as the census numbers go, in another state, but they are actually registered to vote here in this state. So sometimes those counts, when you compare census with registered voters, gets a little skewed because of that. I'm trying to think, there was something else I wanted to address too. Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about testing of the equipment. Tomorrow is Ouray County's logic and accuracy testing. And what we do is we have a Republican and a Democrat judge come in with a test. So we give them 25 ballots and they vote them, and they know what the result is supposed to be. So I give them little tally sheets so they know what the result is. And then we run them through the scanners. And test those ballots so that they match what their results are. This is part of the logic and accuracy testing. And we also have what we call a county test deck, and we run them through with a predetermined result and make certain that the equipment is counting appropriately. Then we turn them over into what we call election mode. And so we count during the election process, we start counting. And then post-election, we also have a risk limiting audit. It's another test. So we go through basically three different modes. We have logic and accuracy testing, which is a pre-election. Then you have your election counting, and then you have your risk limiting audit. And that's post-election. So the risk limiting audit, it's very interesting how that's handled. It's a spot check of ballots to see if they've been counted appropriately. And all the counties, all 64 counties across the state participate in that process. And again, it is another way to spot check that the equipment is counting appropriately. So, is there anything else?
Yeah, no, thank you for clearing that up. Can you give us the dates that ballots will be mailed for the primary and for the general election, please, so that people know when to start looking for them? And I just want to clear something up while you're looking up the dates. If people do not want to vote by mail, they do not have to. They can go in on election day, and I think sometimes they have days before if they need to, that you can go and vote in person. Is that?
That's correct, absolutely.
It's not gone away.
That has not gone away. And for an election like this, it depends again on your county size, but you'll have a voter service and polling center. So like for La Plata County, I'll have my office open beginning June 20th for early voting, voter service center, right? Including the Saturday before. So 8 to noon, we're open. And then we'll open up 2 additional ones, one at our fairgrounds and one at Bayfield Town Hall. And it depends on your size of your county. There's a formula that we built into the legislation that occurred in 2013. So now the November election, I'll have 5 voter service and polling centers.
Oh, you went on mute, Tiffany.
Darn the return button. But anyway, so we'll have 5 of them. We're going to go ahead and add 1 additional. But maybe for like Ouray, Michelle, I don't know if you have just 1 at your main branch, or if you have additional, I'm not sure.
I just have the 1. So anybody can come to Ouray, to the courthouse here, and vote at our BSPC. And it is totally the option of the voter how they choose to handle their vote process. They have options. They receive their ballot in the mail. And again, they can mail it back, they can drop it in Dropbox, or they can even hand deliver it back to the BSPC. And if they don't want to vote on that paper ballot, that mail ballot, they can come into the vote in person. And we have the same ballot marking devices that Tiffany has. And it is simply a ballot marking device. They can come in and they vote on a tablet and it spits out a piece of paper and it's counted just like all the other ballots.
And they get to review that piece of paper before they deposit it
and make certain it's accurate. Yeah. The nice thing about the ballot marking device is that you cannot overvote a race. That is what is particularly nice about that. Whereas if you have a paper ballot and you've made an error and you go, I don't want this person, you can actually very carefully write, you could write, I want this one, and vote for the right person. It'll go through an adjudication process and the bipartisan team of judges will actually look and see how the voter wanted that result to be. So they can process it through that way so that we know that the vote gets counted right. But it is much cleaner on that ballot marking device because it won't You can't overvote on it.
Okay,
And
so
Representative, your question regarding when the ballots are going to go out. So for the June primary, we'll mail them the week of June 6th. And then for the November 8th election, they will be, the first day we can mail them is going to be October 17th. And I did want to address, and then I'll let Kim address her voter service centers, but somebody asked, do all counties use Runbeck? No, that's up to a county clerk and commissioners. We go out to bid for that individually as elected officials, and print vendors can bid on it. And then we make that type of an agreement with them. There are a lot of counties that use Runbeck. I am one of them. I've used them for a while. They're a great print vendor, but no, it's specifically up to the clerks on that one. And I'm trying to understand this other one.
there is a question about, have you seen a huge increase in voter registration changes this year?
Oh, this year, so I'll speak to my county. I have the last few years. So COVID absolutely changed. People are moving here. Let's just face it. I mean, anybody that lives in our particular community can see the growth. So we are going to see an uptick of numbers, I guarantee it. People are coming out of big cities and they're coming here. So remember, county clerks also, like I said at the beginning, we oversee motor vehicle recording. So we're basically everybody that's over 18 is coming into our office. And so we see it. I've seen my vehicle registrations absolutely increasing. Our real estate records, all of that, the number of sales of land is definitely changing. So we monitored that and look at the election, the voter registration, and I see some questions regarding our election numbers. And if you can look at the Secretary of State's website, and even prior to that, we have books with the voter registration. That used to be a requirement. We had to send in our data. Now that we're on a statewide system, anybody can see that data every month. They can see the growth and the trends, and you're always going to see an uptick of voter registration figures prior to an election, because guess what? We're Americans. We procrastinate. We don't think about it. And all of a sudden we're like, oh man, I've got to go get registered to vote. I forgot about this. So all of us see this uptick. And I remember in the days before online, we would have stacks and stacks, and Michelle and Kim, paper registrations, and we'd have to hire temps and bring them in for every single election. That's not uncommon, especially on a general election or a presidential for sure. That's very, very common, and you're always going to see that uptick. And we're, again, a resort community. We have people that own multiple homes here, depending upon when they take their census. I know personally, I fill it out every 10 years, right? So how do we know what's really happening in between that? That's what I can't quite get my hands around. But we're like Michelle, we're like Avail. Those communities, people own multiple homes, and it depends on where they take their census and where they claim their residency, on where that figure is getting calculated. And also we're a college town. So we see a lot of changes. And another good thing I'll just add, because I could see some more things kind of coming after me here. When we send out a mailer, like I did with that postcard, we pay to have that returned back to us as undeliverable if that person is no longer there. So they have a change of address or what have you. So I pay to get that back to me, and then I can actually put that person onto what's called inactive status, meaning we're not going to automatically mail them a ballot again. They're going to have to initiate on their voter registration roll to get, to change their address or what have you. And that's another good part of mail ballot, is we're getting those back. So being a college town, I'm sending those ballots out. The students that are no longer there, it's coming back to me as undeliverable, and I can do list maintenance. We do list maintenance on our voter rolls every single day. Every day we're looking at the rolls and massaging them, we call it, but it's, updating them, deleting people, doing all of that every day on our rolls. And that's another misconception people have, is that we don't do anything with the rolls, and that's not accurate. There's specific laws that we have to follow. And Kim, I cut you off, so I'm going to be quiet and let you talk about your voter services. And I'm going to keep looking at these chats here.
That's okay. I appreciate everything that you're adding to this conversation. We actually in Montezuma County for the primary, we will have one vote service polling center. And then for the general, we will actually have 4. So we have one and one of them is on our tribal lands or our reservation, and the other 2 are in our large municipalities. One of the questions that I saw, and I apologize, I'm not getting all of the questions, I'm getting just a few, but one of the questions I saw was, what is an overvote? An overvote is when a question, if there's 2 candidates, the voter accidentally marks both of those candidates. And so that's what they call an overvote. I don't know if there's additional questions, or an undervote would be if there was a question and no candidate or no yes or no was marked. Let's see, one of the other questions, our voter registration. We have had a significant change in voter registration. Our independents used to be one of our smaller affiliations, and now they are the most in Montezuma County. So we have right at 50% of our registered voters are unaffiliated. So that's a big change in our county. I'm trying to keep up with the questions, but
Do you see many changes between parties? I mean, not just more people coming in to register, but people switching parties. Have you seen that as well? I know, Kim, you had just said, that's what reminded me that you just said there's more independents now. Are those new people coming in or people who have been there for a while?
I don't know specifically on Montezuma County if that is new registrations or if they're changing. That's just something that I haven't looked into. But I would guess that there have been, especially in our primary election, because right now for the primary, we don't have any Democratic candidates on our ballot. So I think a lot of people make that change of affiliation so that they can get that vote in. But I don't know if that's particular because of new voters or changes.
Okay, thanks.
And I could address, if you wanted to, on the party changes that I've seen. So people have been able to do the party swapping, changing for years. I keep saying this, there's always been a particular deadline right on a party change, whether it was 30 days before, 22 days, whatever. So even before Colorado opened their primaries, people would still change their party to vote on a particular candidate, to nominate them and move them forward. Is there manipulation in the process? Of course. Maybe they want to vote for the weaker candidate or whatever. It's happened forever, and not just in Colorado, but across. Do we agree with it as county clerks? No, it's tough. We are, again, a lot of these things that are occurring, we're just upholding the law. Somebody's asking me specifically who La Plata County's Dominion guy is. I don't know what that means, but if you're referring to like support, we do our own ballot programming in La Plata County. I'm really proud of that. I've done it my whole entire career. I've learned how to do the software, be able to do the ballot programming myself, and along with my colleague Erin. And it takes, the 2 of us to do all of it together. And we do it internally. That allows me to do all these additional elections that I do. So La Plata Electric Association, I do that election. I also help the high school with their student council elections for a voting civic activity. It saves the county thousands of dollars. We do it ourselves. So I'm not sure what that means as far as, and what does it mean? Great question. What does it mean to do ballot programming? So we get the ballot content, right? The certification of what's on the ballot. And we actually go into the software and we build the ballot. We, whether it's a vote for 3 or a vote for 2, we put in all the information, we put in all the measure content. And the software helps us, obviously with designing the tick marks and where the oval placement, but we're the ones designing all of that, okay, in our Dominion ballot software. And again, that's independently, not networked. It's all on its own server. I have my own independent server that's locked and it's all hardwired. So I don't outsource it. I don't send that out. I do it internally. And I believe, Kim, you're the same way. I'm not sure, Michelle, I'm not sure on yours. It's up to how you guys do it. And there's no bad or right or wrong way to do it. I just choose to do it that way. Then we test it internally, and then we do the testing just like Michelle referred to. We'll have the party representatives come in and test it. And that's also where our tabulation equipment. So all those results come into that same server. So I like having that as a county clerk, doing that myself. versus outsourcing it. But that's, again, it's up to the clerks to do it and up to your, as far as the, your budget, because it's a little bit more expensive to outsource it. So hopefully I answered that for you. And if that particular individual with that question, if you want to ever come in and talk to me more, I would love to, and we can drill down a little further on what that specifically means. So great question.
So Cameron, you haven't had a chance to say anything, and several people have asked, are you a clerk? No, Cameron's not a clerk. So you may have to repeat again kind of what you do, and if you have any comments on any of the questions that have come up today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative. So yeah, I was going to just address that. I'm not a county clerk. I am the Associate Director at Colorado Common Cause, and we're a statewide nonpartisan nonprofit organization. And I explained a little bit about what we do with our election protection. And I did want to just say, I think I'm here because our work as in election protections, we do work a lot with county clerks, and these county clerks, as you've seen, are doing an awesome job. But we also do serve as just a third party, check to make sure that everything is going the way that it should. For the most part, we work very closely with the county clerks, but we also want to just be there in case there is something that shouldn't be happening. And I think I mentioned this earlier, is we recruit folks to sign up with as poll watchers, and these are folks that can go in and observe the process. So I think you've heard from the experts, the county clerks, and I think it's important that everyone knows that they're not doing any of the things that they're describing behind any kind of iron curtain or anything. They're there, and they are you can watch them. You can sign up to be a poll watcher. The things that they're doing are very transparent, and they're done with everybody's eyes on them. So, I think that's, I went on a tour recently of an elections division, and they showed us where everything is. There's so much glass. There's so much glass in the building, because you walk through it and you can look in this room and you can look in this room. None of this stuff is happening really behind closed doors or secretly. And I think that there might be a misconception that that is the way it is, but as you've heard from all of them, they do these things wide up in the open. And as Tiffany was saying, she welcomes folks into her facilities and shows them what's going on. And I think that they're extremely transparent, and that's part of the law that they're following, but also I think that they want everyone to trust the process, and they're going to be transparent. So anyways, that's why we're here, because we want to be a supporter of this, but we also want to just be a third party to watch what's going on as well. And I think everybody here is also here to learn more. And yeah, so I just wanted to add that. So hopefully that clears that up for folks.
Looks like I'm on mute. There it goes. I never get this right. But it looks like we're out of time today, but I want to thank all of our panelists for coming. And I want to thank all the people who joined in today. It was a good crowd out there, lots of good questions. And remember, if you have something to ask, your county clerks are right here, and they are more than happy to talk about things with you. I'm going in during the primary, and I'm going to take another look at the office just to see what's going on. Been in before, and I think it's good to know what's going on, and we all want safe elections. So there's no one here that doesn't. So that's what our job is. So so if you all would like to give a closing comment, closing remark, and we'll take it away.
Can I start?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
So one of the things that I realized early on when I became a clerk was how very blessed I am to work in the community that I have. I'm blessed to work with an amazing group of people. And even though I am required to follow state statutes that some of my constituents do not understand and get frustrated with, it's an oath that I took, and I respect that oath, and I take it very seriously. I'm truly honored to serve as the county clerk and recorder of Montezuma County. My door is always open, my phone, call me anytime. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you. And thank you, Representative, for having this.
Okay, my pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Michelle?
Thank you, Representative McLachlan. I really appreciate your inviting us here today. And like Kim said, I have signed an oath numerous times through the years, and I am honored to be able to serve the citizens of Ouray County and the state of Colorado. And I take my job very, very seriously. I do a lot of studying, a lot of reading the law, reading the statute, reading the rules, reading the policies. And I just am very, very honored that I've had this in my life. So thank you very much for everything today.
Well, thank you. And you know you'll be missed when you retire, but I bet
Thank
you'll
you.
find something to do out there. So
Thanks.
Christy. Oh, you'll have to unmute her, Michelle. There you go.
I'm just honored to be involved in this. Thank you so much for letting me join. And, you know, it's, I just want to reiterate, we do take our jobs very, very seriously. And know that, you know, we work for the people and are very blessed to do so.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Tiffany?
Thank you so much. I'm going to take 1 second just to address a question that came up a couple times, and then I'll close. Under the United States Constitution, your ballot cannot be, we can't track how you vote and assign it to that individual. That's a right that you have. So that's a really important thing. We don't know how you vote. And so we can't tell you that how your vote was recorded. Again, it's all about the audits that we do to ensure on that paper after the fact and prior to. And so that particular person, please call me. I would love to talk to you about that further. I know that was important. And then as far as the voting equipment, again, give me a call. Let's talk about what we do to be in compliance. And you know, an hour is a lot. An hour is a lot. There's a lot of information we said to you, and there's so much more information. So if we did not address your questions, and I know we didn't on all of them, please reach out to any of us and let us answer those questions for you. Thank you so much. I am always honored to be on these types of calls to get the information. And number one, I am honored to be your county clerk. I'm honored to represent La Plata County and the state. And, you know, the work that we do is so invaluable, and it's been an honor to serve. And so thank you for tonight and taking the time out of your busy days. Go eat your dinner, have fun, and enjoy this beautiful weather. Stay safe. The fires are sparking up, so be careful, and I appreciate all of you. And Representative, thank you for this opportunity. And Cameron, as always, it was great to see you. And good night. Thank you.
Thank you. And don't forget to vote, however you do it. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.